Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, April 14th, Kupuna Caucus meeting. I'm Representative Troy Hashimoto, and I think my co-convener, Senator Moriwaki, is not going to be able to join us today. She has some other commitments that she's fulfilling, but I think we are all trying to get ready for conference. And so I think today's main purpose is to review some of the bills that are still alive, some strategies on how to get these bills passed out. And so I think we just wanted to start that review and kind of share with you where we were at with some of our priority bills. And I think, we'll kind of see if what else we need to do, what kind of support that you can possibly give, because it is a critical time when all the differences are being worked between House and Senate members. That's going to start off on Monday. I think what we're awaiting right now is to see who are all the conferees that will get assigned to these committees, and we will keep our fingers crossed as we kind of hit the finish line. It's kind of like you never know what will happen in conference, but I'm going to share my screen real quick. And we can see some of the Kupuna Caucus bills that are still alive. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so at least you guys can see. So at this point, House Bill 648 is dead. That we took the Senate version. And so that Senate version is still alive. It's heading to conference. And that, again, just as a reminder, is a shallow rent subsidy for Kupuna with some possible services. And so that's still moving. I likely will be the lead conferee on that. And I think at the end of the day, that's something we're going to have to negotiate is on cost. And so I think that is something that we really want. I think the Senate version of the budget did have a large appropriation for regular rent supplement. And so we're going to have to watch to see where that rent supplement program goes, because if the regular rent supplement program expands dramatically, Kupuna can apply for that. So we may not move this bill out. So I think what my intention is to kind of watch and understand where all of that is going. And so I think just generally speaking, well, when you're taking a look at money bills, what I'm really concerned about too is we're trying to figure out if there is a lot of surplus money, right? So I think when we started the session, there was a whole lot of surplus money. And so I think everyone thought there was going to be a ton of new expansion. But I think as we move through, you'll have noticed that the Council on Revenues did downgrade their forecast. So I think that essentially lost us over $1 billion in potential revenue. So just from the start to when we got the Council on Revenues, I think maybe a month ago, it was mid-March, our revenue projections drop by that much. And so that's pretty dramatic. So I don't think all the things that we thought we were going to do, we can do. I think what I've also heard is there is some concern about a potential looming recession. So when you take a look at all the news, right, there's a lot of these bank failures and inflation and all that. And so I think from just my understanding of talking with fellow members, they're a little bit concerned that if we do hit a recession soon, we want to make sure that there's money tucked away. So I think, just long story short of what I'm hearing, is that they're a little bit weary about recurring costs. So I think they really want to focus on if there's one-time costs, we can fund that. But if it's recurring, we're going to have to really figure that out and make some really big decisions. So that's the landscape that we're playing in. I think we know a lot of these programs are really important for the long haul. And I think a lot of the bills that we're going to discuss today for the long haul are critically important. So, but I just want to preface of what we're kind of hearing in the legislature. SB 900 SD2, that's our state health insurance assistance program. Those are for physicians and specialists. So that is still alive. That is going to head to conference. And so that just requires some positions and funding. So we'll see where we can get with that. HB 650 is Our Care, Our Choice. This is something that we've been working on all along. I think there is a clean date on this bill, but I think when I last looked at it, even though it's a clean date and the House potentially could agree, there are different amendments. So what I was hoping is that it would essentially be the same, and so then we can just pass it out. But I think when I last looked at the bill, there was an expansion to the counseling provision. So I don't know what we're going to do with that yet. So I hope that, well, I guess at the end, if there's some questions, it's going to head to conference. But I was just hoping that potentially we could agree, but I don't know how big that is that we need to discuss over that counseling provision. So that's still alive, though. That's the main thing. As a reminder, it went to conference last year as well, but then it died in conference. And so I hope it does not have a similar fate. I hope we can work out the differences if it does head to conference. SB 442, that was the Senate version of the House bill, but we're just using the House bill as the vehicle. HB 651 for inspections, that's dead as well, as along with SB 901, 652, and 902. So those are all, we knew kind of early that those were not making it. So it's that those aren't surprises, but we do want to focus on the ones that are still moving, which is those 3 priority bills that we have. So I think that's really important that you are aware of those. So there are other Kupuna related measures that we are also tracking that are still alive. So, we have, I think we have actually the Office on Aging who is here, I think, that might want to discuss some of their bills. So Caroline, are you here? Caroline? Is Caroline?
She's swallowing a bite of food.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait for Caroline until she is done with her food. Oh, I see her. Sorry, I had to stop sharing the screen. Oh, we can't hear you, Caroline. Okay, well, maybe Caroline, you can figure out your IT issues. And we also have Judy Moore Peterson here, who was going to share some of her bills that she's working on. So maybe Judy, will throw it over to you.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, hi, Caroline. Did you
Go.
Okay, great. Just wanted to call out a few bills that this group might be interested in. One of them, calling out in House Bill 300, which is the budget bill. We have both the House and the Senate agreeing with the governor's budget to have a rebasing of the nursing facility rates up to cost. And so there's general agreement about that, for which we're really, really grateful. The other bill that we're tracking and moving along, and that we have that we're supportive of in its current form is House Bill 222, the Senate version. It has sort of morphed into, it has 2 different components to it. One is for MedQuest to do rate studies on a consistent basis for particular types of services that don't have like a Medicare equivalent. So many of the home and community-based services do not have a Medicare equivalent, and so it's the rate study side of it. And actually, Representative Hashimoto, it started off as one of your bills, but then it was picked up and dropped into House Bill 222. The appropriation part has expanded and been more explicit that it would fund the results of the rate study that we completed for home and community-based study, for the home and community-based rate study that we did, that we completed December 31st of 2022. Barely got it done, but we made it. And this would fund that. The current recommendation is for that came out of the Senate, on the Senate recommendation, is that it be funded at that. We have 3 different scenarios: a low, medium, and high. And the recommendation that came out of the Senate side was for the low aspect of that, and that would be about, I think it's my recollection, and please, maybe I shouldn't say even the same thing, but I think it's about $15 million for on the low side. The other bill that we're tracking that's undergone a pretty dramatic revision is House Bill 1357, the SD2 version. The reason that it's undergone a complete revision is because it started off as something that wasn't possible or feasible, which is back pay for like adult residential care homes or community care foster family homes, and for 14 years. And that was not feasible, but it has transformed into revising, increasing what's called the state supplemental payment, which the state gives to a part of DHS, gives to the Social Security Administration, who then makes these payments on behalf of the residents in the care homes to help the residents pay for like their room and board and the services. And so, and that's in that way, then the adult residential care homes can get an increase in how much they're getting. While it might not be as much as the proponents of the bill and the care homes were looking for, the increase itself is about $115 per month per resident. So it does add up. And that payment, if people have been hearing, it's like, we haven't gotten an increase in 14 years, that's the payment that hadn't been increased in 14 years, whereas the Medicaid payments had been increased. So the state supplemental payment, we're supportive because we actually have the budget to cover that increase of that 115, and if kept at that level, it does not actually require a general fund increase. If it went above that, then it would require a general fund appropriation. So we're supportive of that SD2 version of that bill. We were not supportive, if you read our prior testimony, we've been opposing it, but the most recent version, that is an increase in the state supplemental payment, we are supportive of that. I know that was a lot, but hopefully that's helpful. We also have the nursing facility sustainability bills, which is another way in which we can be supportive of improving both the rates as well as pay for performance and quality metrics, et cetera, for the nursing facilities. That measure is moving through. That's currently, that's House Bill 1369. And I think it is actually also at an SD2 version. Those are the bills that we're tracking and are supporting. You know, we're putting in positive testimony. There's other bills where we might not be quite as enthusiastic, but those are the priority ones that we're supportive of, that I think this particular group of people would be also supportive of conceptually.
That's great. Thanks so much, Judy. You know, actually, I'm glad you brought up HB 222 because I lost track of where that went. I knew it went somewhere, but now you at least pointed me in the correct direction of where it's at. So It's tricky sometimes to keep track of where some of these things end up, but I think that is an incredibly important bill. I think Senator Moriwaki and myself really worked closely with Judy to figure out, can we get it in? And so I think we're thankful for Judy and her team for that, for getting that in. And so we'll hopefully, we all need to advocate for that for those who are in that care home space and need that extra funding. So any questions for Judy while she's here? So if she can drop off if there's after this, any questions for about particular bills or any info on her thoughts? Yes, Kathy, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that adult daycare is included in that SB 222, Judy.
We can we have an estimate. I haven't had a chance to talk yet with the senator, but we think that if the appropriation goes in for in 222, that we'll be able to incorporate the at least the preliminary estimate that we have from for the adult daycare, that we'd be able to accomplish that within that appropriation.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any other questions for Judy? Right. Well, seeing no questions, thank you, Judy, for being here. We really appreciate that update, and let's push these bills to the end.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So Caroline, sorry about that. I hopefully you're all ready to go, and we'll turn it over.
My apologies, Representative. Yes, I am ready. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
My computer just had bandwidth problem about 2 minutes ago, and I got a little worried. Okay, I just wanted to happy to report that Senate Bill 1372 for the Kupuna Care Program is going to the governor, I believe, for signature. That is the bill that it was a legislative proposal to ensure that the wording was correct in the Kupuna Care bill from last year. When we combined both Kupuna Care and Kupuna Caregiver, there was a little technical issues. So we cleaned the language up, and that bill is making its way to the governor. So happy to report on that. That was one of our admin bills. The other one is Senate Bill 1373, the EOA Administrative Claiming Special Fund. This would allow us to pull Medicaid administrative claiming funds for both our long-term care ombudsman program and the state health insurance assistance program. These programs do help individuals that are on Medicaid. So the work that they're currently doing could become claimable. So this would be revenue that would come back to the programs that the programs could use for operating expenses. So that one, I believe, is going to conference. I believe so. And that's where that one's at. And I know you mentioned all the Kupuna Caucus bills that we are also following. There's also House Bill 872 for the Hawaii Healthy Aging Partnership. That one we're also following to provide funding for that program. SMP Senate Bill 1592. That's for the 3 positions for the state Medicare Patrol. And those ones were outside, I believe, of the Kupuna Caucus measures. And then also the last one was House Bill 278, I believe, for the Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. And that one's for education, public awareness campaign. So those are the ones that EOA's following very closely that are going to conference.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. And any questions? Yeah, all the other ones. Yeah, important. Any questions for Caroline on any of those particular bills? I don't know, Ron, you want to say anything about your Alzheimer's bill? I see Ron on here. I don't know if there's anything, if you have any updates on how that's looking.
Hey, Rep Hashimoto, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. Thank you to everyone for your support, and Rep Hashimoto, your leadership as it made its way through the legislature. So, fingers crossed. We're hopeful. We actually went out and had gotten 3 preliminary cost estimates from vendors, and just to do a full campaign. And then estimates range from the mid 500,000s to 1.5 mil. So we did put in a request for a testimony for $1 million for this campaign initially. So happy to share more information with you, Representative, as well as others, Senator Moriwaki as well, if needed.
Great. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
I'm glad that hopefully we can get that through and figure all that out. Any questions for Ron or Caroline or any of the other bills that we are tracking? Now is the time. I also see that Rep Chun is here, so thanks Rep Chun for joining us today. Appreciate you being here. So any questions, concerns, or statements, let us know, because I think it's a short agenda today, so I think we're going to probably go let people go if we don't have anything, but I do see Donald. So Donald, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Representative Donald Sakamoto for National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii. I just wanted to let everybody know about a bill that I brought up with your committee, mobility management for the outer islands to have transportation for the elderly and disabled. I reached out to Chris Todd, Representative Chris Todd, Chair of Transportation, and he introduced HB 415, and now it's HB 415. HD2, SD2, and it's going to conference committee. This is to have mobility management on each island to have a coordinator to watch over the counties to see how they can improve their transportation beyond the same guidelines, and have a head lead coordinator overseeing them also. So it's going to conference, and I hope I can get your support for HB 415, HD2, SD2 for mobility management. So kudos for the Executive Office of Agent back in 2014 for doing the mobility task report. And I look forward to working with all parties when this thing eventually goes through. Hopefully it will go through and we get it to conference committee and go on and move to governor's office. Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks, Donald, for sharing that. Definitely we'll add that to the list, HB 415, and we'll see who gets onto those conference committees. Rick, I see your hand raised. Rick, go ahead.
I'm just going to ask about the hearing aid. So HB 818 and companion bill SB 609 SD1. I see that that's died. Can you shed a little light on? I assume I know what happened, but what do you know about that bill, Representative?
Is any of them still alive, Rick?
No, they're not. They're not. Yeah, they were. They're not now, though.
Yeah, I think when the Kupuna Caucus looked at hearing aids, and this was a deaf and blind task force bill, right?
They did submit it, yeah.
Yeah, so I think when the Kupuna Caucus looked at it last, the hard part is how do we regulate some of this stuff through the providers? Because I think they actually were being provided already under certain circumstances. And so I think there was a little bit confusion on how we would actually be able to implement it, because I think it's also part of my understanding is it's the level of plan that you have will then give you different type of coverage. So I don't think when I saw the Deaf and Blind Task Force bill, it was too late for me to kind of tell them, okay, this is what Kupuna Caucus did. So I think we need to put our heads together and make sure that all the things that we discussed are figured out, because I think when you talk to the insurance providers, because both HMSA and Kaiser did give a Kupuna Caucus presentation of what they could and couldn't do. And so I think if we implemented something through legislation, it would probably only apply to probably like Medicaid, patients. And so I think outside of that, it's hard. They were kind of like, it's hard to mandate it for private plans. And so I think we're going to have to figure out what exactly are we trying to target, is my sense in the future. But I think it's a worthy cause to try and promote. Okay. It's just a matter of what are we going to do about it? Yeah.
So I'm thinking after the session might be a good time to kind of start talking to folks about this. Other things.
Absolutely. So I think so I guess I'll give some background in terms of where we're at in the session. So I think I anticipate some of the conferees to be, get appointed starting by Monday. So I think the chairs, at least on the House side, recommended conferees by midweek this week. I think leadership is trying to determine who's going to be on the conference committees, and I would anticipate conference will start to open up probably midweek next week, earliest Wednesday. Obviously, for those who are seasoned at conference, you're gonna have to get that notice, right? The 24-hour notice, and so you're gonna see that. I think if there are bills that conferees don't get appointed, I think then you should be a little concerned by the time end of next week, and so we should really start to advocate. Senator Moriwaki and I will be keeping an eye on some of the Kupuna Caucus bills, but there's just, the universe is so big, so we don't know where everybody's, what everybody needs. So if you feel that it's important, you should probably look at the introducer. You should look at, who are the advocates, and you got to reach out to the lead chairs. So the lead chairs are the people that get the first referral, and those are the ones that have the most control over the bills. But although the lead chairs will be the ones that who are going to open conference and lead the conference, a lot of times if there's agreement between the lead chairs, if there's a finance or ways and means at the back end, they have the final say if the bill gets released. So generally, if there's an appropriation, the lead chairs are likely at the end of conference are waiting for release from the money committee. So it's really murky, because at some point you don't know who has the problem along the way. And sometimes we as even lead chairs don't know what the money situation is, because it's the only two real people are is leadership. Two money chairs and leadership know what the number is, because sometimes they're going to fund things through the bill that you're waiting on, and sometimes they're going to fund it through the budget. And so it's like a game that's really complicated, that somebody, hopefully the two money chairs are like keeping it all together, because there's so much things that need to happen to close the legislature. So just know it's happening. It's going to happen really quick, but you should stay on top of it over the next 2 weeks. And I just wanted to give you some insights of what people are thinking. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Oh, Kendi, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a quick question on what happened with 902, SB 902, regarding caregivers. I think you kind of scrolled through it and said, well, we kind of knew that was going to die, and that was because it wasn't scheduled for Senate and Ways and Means. And I'm wondering if there were any objections that we could overcome the next time.
Let's see. That is a good question. Okay, I'm trying to think now. This one was the pilot, right? For funding for the workforce, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. That is a good question. I don't know why it died. We're gonna have to check with Senator Moriwaki on that, because I actually just am looking at it now, and I forgot that we didn't move this one. So I think at a certain point, so just generally speaking, at a certain point, they're gonna ask us to pare down priorities. And I think this probably just, when we were trying to get bills through Ways and Means, there was certain ones we at a certain point we just got to say, okay, this was the top priorities. But I think we're gonna have to work on it. I think it's a little bit more education, and I think part of it was possibly where it was placed. I don't know. I'm gonna have to double check on that with Senator Moriwaki. I don't know, Caroline, do you recall anything at all? SB 902.
I just know that it didn't get the hearing
Yeah,
room, and that's
yeah.
why, yeah.
We're gonna have to dig deeper on that. So it's essentially, it was SB 902, and then HB 652 was the House version. We picked the Senate version to be the vehicle, and excuse me, sorry. We picked the House version to be the vehicle. Sorry, I'm confusing myself here. actually, so SB 902 died early, right? And then HB 652 was the vehicle that moved all the way to Ways and Means, which it moved really far, right? Because it was a House bill. So I have to go check why exactly it didn't move and get scheduled in WAM, but I'm pretty sure it's a priority thing, because once it gets that late in the game, they start to make you choose. So sorry about that. Well, I'm going to make a note and we'll try and get back to you on that.
Yeah, because I realized the funding, the bills that are focused on funding are important, but if you don't have the workers and families who can advocate for the older adults in these facilities and also at in-home care, as we're moving to community-based care, then it's kind of, it's chicken or the egg, right? We got the funding, but we don't have the workers, and we don't have families who can cover for this lack of workers. So
yeah, I totally agree. So I think part of the conversation sometimes is we can do it through the budget, but sometimes I don't know if that was the conversation that happened. So I'm gonna have to ask Senator Milwaukee, because she was keeping track of when it was heading to WAM or not. So, but good points, all really good points. I totally agree.
okay, thank you.
Rick, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to put it down from before.
Oh, okay, awesome. Any other questions, concerns? So we know we'll get an explanation on 652 for the next meeting. So at least we can start working on these during the interim. And so I think, the point is even though it's dead, things that you really wanted, we need to know from the group, we should try and get understanding. Like Kendi said, I think we should really understand why it died, because then we can try and rectify that over the interim and see if there's another way to do it that's a little better. And then we can, obviously want to try again the next session. So I think that is the important one, the workforce one. And I think that was something that we've been working on with the working group too. So I think that's clearly something we want to make sure that we can somehow move next time. Okay. Anything else? Caroline, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know, I am so sorry. I think I've been talking too much today, that we are going to be, our state plan on aging is due to the Administration for Community Living in July. So part of that is for us to go out into the community and get feedback on our plans. So we have meetings set up next week on Kauai on Tuesday, Maui on Thursday, and I'll send all the dates and times and locations over to both you, Representative Hashimoto and Ren, and then also to Charles and Senator Milwaukee. Then I have a few Zoom meetings scheduled where anyone can pop in at any time to listen to those. And then we'll be in Hilo on Monday, May 1st. And we're still finding a location for our Honolulu presentation in the next few weeks, but just wanted to let the community know that there's various ways that they can listen in to find out what are the topic areas that we're addressing in our state plan. And we really do appreciate the feedback so that we can finalize the plan, get it up to the governor for his signature, and then off to the Administration for Community Living. So the 4-year plan basically is kind of our roadmap of what we're looking at doing with our long-term services and supports over the next 4 years. So just wanted to share that with everyone and appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. And I think when you send that over, we'll definitely send it out to the entire.
Thank you.
So you all have it.
I'll get that right after this meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other announcements that anyone has if we're done with the bills?
I can announce that Kupuna Council, we have a forum coming up. It's going to be a disabilities awareness forum. It's something different. We've got some pretty keynote speakers coming. Kirby Shaw and a few other people are going to present. So kind of exciting. It'll be on Zoom. So that'll be on Monday, April 24th from 11:30 till 1 o'clock. I have 4 pretty dynamic speakers that are going to join us, and we'll send out a MailChimp pretty quick, and we'll get it to you to send out to everybody also.
Great.
And then, I mean, skipping ahead, then Rep is going to join us. Rep Hashimoto is going to join us May 25th, it's a Thursday, for HPGS, Hawaii Pacific Gerontological Society, along with Senator Morawaki, so our team here. And then also, what else did I have there? Derek Ariyoshi and Caroline are going to join us and just talk about strategic plan going forward and also some of the bills that have passed. That'll be an hour-long meeting. That'll be Thursday, May 25th from 11:30 till 12:30. Okay, thank you. That'll be on Zoom also.
Thank you, Rick. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none, I think we wanted to try and keep this agenda short. I think we wanted to just make sure everyone knew what was going on, and then we'll get back to regular programming after session, but we're just trying to push through. This next 2 weeks will be quite busy, and you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, but your advocacy is more very important over these next 2 weeks. So even though there's no public hearings with testimony, you know, your back channels of emailing and, you know, asking for things do matter. So we really appreciate your efforts and to try and get some of these bills to the finish line. So good to see everyone. Have a happy and safe weekend. If you are around the Capitol, we are having art at the Capitol this evening. So come join us between 5 and 7 p.m. at the Capitol if you are interested in art. But until next time, we will see you after session.